So how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on your little show here today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I always have fond memories of Crux because I think you all were kind of one of the first brands that I've encountered when I first started going to IPSPR like years ago. I think it was IPSPR 2015 in New Orleans um, that I first kind of ran into your brand,
Okay.
and ever since then I've been it's been on my radar.
Did we treat you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're one of the few.
You're waiting. You're waiting for the shoe to drop. You're like, you were
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah. What did we do? I'm sure it was Casey.
Yeah.
Something Casey said.
Well, it's funny because I was speaking to our mutual friend David Spurdo over at EP Carrillo. He said, tell Jeff I'm still mad at him for stealing my salesperson. So, or my rep or whatever it was. So I was like, yeah. I was like, we'll work that into the conversation.
Yeah. Great company. I had nothing to do with it. I can't confirm or deny anything.
So,
Especially these days.
so where are you beaming in from today?
I'm in Minneapolis right now. Obviously not traveling, so just having a cigar in my a back room of a retail store, and socially distancing, of course. In Minnesota, retail stores are not open.
Oh,
So, I mean, it's crazy. I was on a conference call with a number of retailers the other day, and I think Minnesota is one of the very few, other than a couple of hot spots, maybe Maryland, New York, places like that. But yeah, so I'm just having a cigar and finishing up a peanut butter parfait from Dairy Queen, and that's it. That's my lunch for today. How about you? Where are you located?
I'm in Durham, North Carolina.
Okay, all right.
So it's sunny here. I think tomorrow we'll get storms. It's day 40 something of staying at home, working from home. So it's been an interesting spring, I would say.
I think, didn't you guys just pick up like one up for North Carolina? Wasn't it North Carolina? You just our top recruit, our top high school recruit. I think he went to North Carolina, didn't he?
I think so.
Maybe Tony knows. I think he joined a little bit. My cousin Tony, but he might know the answer to that. Tony, send a little text if you know the answer to that. But I think that's where it was. So, I think you'll have a good team as always.
That's good. We have it's the basketball and football culture here is getting stronger and stronger every year. I went to UNC Chapel Hill, so it was all basketball culture. And luckily now the football team I've seen has gotten better. So
okay, well, that's good. Now where are you? Are you able to smoke a cigar right now or no?
No, I'm in my apartment, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
funny because I live in a neighborhood called the American Tobacco District, and it's like the most anti-tobacco.
Oh, are you? Well, I'll smoke.
Anti-tobacco area of the
I'll
of
smoke
North
one
Carolina.
for both of us, okay? So you just watch me enjoy.
Oh yeah. So what are you smoking today?
I'm smoking a Crux Epicure Toro. Yeah, it's kind of my go-to every day. If I'm smoking a lot of cigars a day, I tend to smoke a lot of Epicures.
Okay.
They don't crush my mouth, so they're always good. So kind of my deal. I love this cigar. What's your favorite? What are some of your favorites nowadays?
I'm one of those like younger people who I'm not brand loyal. Like, so I don't even think I've earned the right to have a favorite yet. I have.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people. I will try a cigar, and I have like several Crux cigars to try, and I've been waiting to have like a platform kind of like this where I can not only try it and like take an Instagram picture for it, but also like do like some type of review attached to it. So I've been like hoarding cigars for the special project that I'm hoping will finally, once I finally get like the website up for deep cuts and all that kind of stuff, and once we get Cigars and Leisure back up and going, that that will be some areas where I can like not only, like I said, take a picture for Instagram, but do some reviews for people just to kind of put my 2 cents out there with everybody else's 2 cents.
It's good, man. A lot of 2 cents adds up to a lot, though, you know?
Yeah, it's like I was talking to Corey from Boss Cigars, and I was like, do you pay attention to, what everybody else out there thinks? And he's like, yeah. He's like, we might not pay attention to like the numerical number, but we want to see like a review and see if, if our own personal review in our team matches up. So,
Right.
and I know Shia Goldberg at Crux Cigars at the same thing. So, reviews are important. It's just a matter of my struggle has always been how to do a fair review. And I don't know how you feel about reviews as a manufacturer, but to me they're tricky because they're always, it's like how are people really reviewing it? Because some magazines just go straight forward and they're like, here's the cigar picture, here's the binder wrapper filler, here's the great net cigar. You never get like a full well, what were your thoughts on the cigar? What made it a 93 or what made it a 92? So I'm looking to get more into like the nitty gritty parts of what I enjoyed about the experience, not just, oh, this is a brand I like, I'm going to, automatically give it a 90 and then everything, a couple points above that, or I don't know it. So, it's starting off at an unequal footing. So that's something that I just have been playing around with.
Well, it's a little different. I think, when you have a cigar review panel, you have several people. You have the high, you have the low. Some panels might kick out the low and the high and average the rest. Some take them all into account. So when you're a single reviewer, that score's a score, right? So, some reviewers are smoking a cigar one time. Some people are smoking them, 3 cigars to really give it a fair review. But really, it's just, another person's opinion of a cigar. And I think, tell me if I'm wrong, I think if, you're dealing with somebody that, really loves their brand, is passionate about it, they're putting good tobacco in it, guy's not an asshole, he's probably going to score a little better than, the guy that really doesn't put too much time in it and is a douchebag. I mean, he's probably not going to get a great score, but
yeah, it's definitely hard to take out bias sometimes because you definitely think about, your experience with that brand and the people there.
That's right.
So it's even you could be the best journalist and you're still going to have some type of bias.
Yeah, that's right.
Based on your experience, because it only takes that one time. And I know I've luckily had a very good experience with most people. Then there's only those people who I haven't, they don't even work in the industry. So it is what it is. But
well, there's no media, there's no bias in media, is there? Like, generally speaking.
That's a whole different show.
That's deep cuts. That's deeper cuts.
Deep cuts.
That's deeper cuts.
Deeper cuts. So what I wanted to do today, it really is learn more about the Crux brand, because I know we haven't done a story on you yet. So this is kind of a precursor to that,
okay.
For tobacco business and cigars and leisure and such like that. But to kind of get the story of why you wanted to start a cigar brand, because it's not definitely an easy thing to kind of just jump into. You don't wake up one morning and say, oh, I think I'm gonna have my own cigar brand, and the next day you just do a couple hours of work and poof, it's all together. So right. I just wanted to get the story of how Crux Cigars came about and what your experiences in the industry so far have been like.
Sure. I mean, and I won't bore everybody to death here, but I started off as a retailer. 28 years ago, I opened my first retail store. I've owned a few different retail stores in the Twin Cities area over the years. I still own one retail store in the western suburbs, where I hired a team to run that company about 4 or 5 years ago now. They do a fantastic job. I get there from time to time. I'm able to spend a little more time there now, being that myself and our other guys in the Crux team aren't traveling. But starting off as a retailer, I knew at a very young age that I just love cigars, right? Like most people started, I started off with, smoking Swisher Sweets while I was out hunting, take advantage of, Minnesota summers, Minnesota falls, and opened my first retail store when I was 21 years old. And I just just try to be a student. Before cigars, I actually wanted to own a hardware store. I mean, that was my true passion. Is I wanted to own a hardware store and have a couple of them in locations in the Twin Cities area. And what I quickly realized is, number one, I didn't have any money, which was a problem. And number two, without that experience and no way to collateralize a loan, I wasn't able to buy a store, build a store. So it would have been a much longer process. And then I started smoking cigars, fell in love with them immediately. Once I had my first one, it was I think my first cigar was an Alfred Dunhill Altamiras in the tube, and had a great experience in running into a retail store where a guy in a trench coat ended up trying to buy like $400 or $500 worth of cigars. I thought I was a big deal back then, spending $10 on one cigar because I was burning it up. It's a lot more money than a Swisher Sweet. And this guy is willing to spend hundreds. And then the guy in the humidor said, I can't sell you all those cigars. I got to keep some for my other customers. They're kind of hard to come by right now, and so on and so forth. And this is before the cigar boom, of course. And it's just kind of a light bulb went. I was just floored, I said, well, there's something to the cigar business. Well, I mean, I don't think it was 2 weeks later, and I was in the cigar business. And, so I ran my retail operation in Minnesota for years. We just happen to be in a state that really isn't, it is conducive to small business in some ways, but then there's other industries that have really been singled out, overly taxed and burdened by legislative law. And so as the years went on, our tobacco taxes continued to go up, and I just knew if I wanted to stay in the cigar business, and I had offers, from other people to work in different industries and do different things, and I just said, if I want to stay in this business, I'm going to have to think about this a little bit different, maybe. Yeah. And it was always in the back of my mind. I think most people that really love cigars, probably yourself even, you've thought about what it would be like to own your own brand and to market it, and I could come up with some cool names and that's the romance, that's the fun, right? I mean, that's the carnival of it, man. That is the fun. But the other side of the business is the pain, the time in, the travel, the financial burden is substantial. And, I don't talk too much about that because that's not the fun part of the business. But I think if most manufacturers will attest to the pains that they've gone through to get to where they're at today, if they're still surviving and still alive. And so once again, throughout those years, I knew I wanted to kind of start a brand. Like most retailers, they've been invited to go to different factories and kind of learn the general process of from growing tobacco to fermentation, curing fermentation, the production side of things. And it really fascinated me. So every opportunity I could, and that's why I owe a lot of my initial knowledge to different cigar manufacturers that were just, they do these trips for retailers, and some even do them for consumers, as we all know. And, that information was just invaluable to me. And so I just, I think that passion just kept growing and growing, to learn and learn and learn. And that's the way I was in the hardware business too. I mean, I went to every seminar, whether it was electrical, plumbing, how to build a shed, how to put threads on a pipe, bolts and nuts, the whole thing. I mean, you learn everything you can when you're when you're passionate about what you're doing. And so, flash forward, our tax in Minnesota just kept going up and up and up. And I just realized there's no way to expand our footprint in our retail operation. I still wanted to stay in the industry. I talked to my wife. I said, maybe it's a good opportunity. Maybe it's a good time to look at maybe a huge paradigm shift in my life. And so I reached out to a few manufacturers, that most people would know. They've been great mentors to me over the years. And I really just said, well, let me at least look at it. So I grabbed an airline ticket. I flew to Nicaragua. I spent time in several different factories. They were all gracious and letting me in and teaching me what they knew and teaching me their process. I picked my initial manufacturing partner, which was the Plasencia family. Great story. I've known those guys for years. In fact, Nestor Sr., he sent his son, Gustavo, to my retail store in Minnesota to work for 6 months at a time, just to understand what retailers go through and understand and learn the retail side of the business. And so I think he was there maybe 2 or 3 different times. And so I already had a connection with the Placencia family, of course, doing my analysis of all the factors. They, of course, had, you know, a lot of tobacco, some great variety of tobacco. And then I said, but you know, if I'm gonna do this, I don't want to be another brand owner that comes down, writes a check, hey, I'm gonna market it and sell it. You know, I really wanted to be involved in every step of the process. So I spent 2 years, roughly 1 week a month or 3 months a year in Nicaragua, learning that process, whether it's being in the fields or the curing barns or the fermentation rooms, or the production side of it, the quality controls. I mean, just learning as much as I could. And then at the same time, starting to experiment with different tobaccos, doing the blending and all those kind of things. And it took several months to come up with our first blend. And but once we did, and I felt like, okay, I feel like I'm understanding this. I felt like this is something I really wanted to do. And so that was 2014 when we released our first Crux Cigars to the market.
Now, do you think if you hadn't had that experience in a retail area, do you think you would have even known where to start with creating your own brand?
I think, yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think anybody. I think it's an advantage to have retail experience and maybe more of the relationships that go along with selling to retailers and basically honoring and respecting brick and mortar and what they've gone through to get to where they're at and the challenges they face. And we try to really be a good retail partner. I think that's where that experience. But I think just like anything, whether you're dealing with hardware stores or cigars, if you're there's certain people with that mindset, and once they get into something, they're going to learn everything they can about it. So I think there's several people that could probably pull it off. But you know, then you're kind of separating the people that, you know, have the ideas, that actually get on that plane and go somewhere, really put that time in, and then ultimately you're going to have to make a financial commitment because this is an expensive game. I mean, we've spent a lot of money. We've made I think we've had a lot of successes, but we've had a lot of mistakes as well. And so as long as, you know, and learning from other manufacturers, it's probably kept us from making a lot of mistakes. So we're very grateful for that, but we still make our own mistakes. And so we're just trying to learn. We're trying to listen to the end consumers. We're trying to listen to our retail partners. And, you know, as a team, it's all about communication. And we can take that feedback. We're a small company, so we're very nimble. So we can move and redirect if need be, which is, you know, kind of why we did that brand overhaul here about 1.5 years, 2 years ago.
Yeah. So when you decided to launch Crux, why did you settle on that name? Because it's such you look at like the industry, and that name kind of stands out because it's so unique. So where did that name come from? Yeah.
So the short answer is it came from the best man at my wedding, who's basically he is the brother I never had. He's somebody that you know, we talk about a lot of things, and certainly we talk about our lives and what people mean and all these different things. And it's really, once again, it comes down to mindset. And you know, he used that term a lot, the crux of the matter kind of term, or the crux of the situation. And so when we did our naming session, it was just a name I had to throw out there because, you know, I think originally we had 70, 80 names, and we kept narrowing it down. We created our own naming team, and we kept, you know, just every day we'd come back and say, okay, give me your top 5, give me your top 5. And it made the top 5 list. And then we really took a look at all those different names and said, what could that possibly mean? And Crux for me, I mean, the name Crux is obviously a crucifixion cross. But in modern day, it's kind of, it can be used as a crossroads, right? And so, you know, I think everything we do and our way of doing business is to not take the path of least resistance. We talk it through as a team. And, you know, for example, Casey, Vice President of Crux, I remember we were sitting in our office warehouse in Boca Raton, Florida, and we were just talking about what we're looking at getting some custom made tape that goes on the outside of the box. Well, that wasn't a 5-minute conversation. It turned into a 1-hour conversation and several phone calls to people and what do you like, what don't you like? And so I think we really attack everything and put the time in, and sometimes the easy way of doing it isn't the best way. So we just try to figure out what the best way is, and I think our team works well in that way. But anyway, that's kind of the short answer for Crux. And it's different, and it's not like it's not like most of our names had nothing to do with Cuban heritage, and we have no Cuban heritage. My great grandfather was a cigar roller in Cold Springs, Minnesota. By day he rolled cigars at a local brewery. At night he carved tombstones. But back in that day, I'm sure most people had a great grandfather that might have rolled cigars at one time, because there were several factories. People didn't have, there was no distribution, right? So everything was made locally and distributed locally. So anyway, we just didn't have any of that Cuban heritage. So we want to say, okay, how can we certainly honor not just Cuban heritage, but all the great makers in Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, Honduras, and we try to honor them and respect them for the hard work and they're building the best tobacco they ever have. We try to then work with them and our own team to assemble some of those great tobaccos into blends that hopefully people will like. And that's just kind of how we do it, but we're an American company making, we try to support everything we can, in the United States, and even to our packaging. I mean, we try to keep everything either manufactured in Nicaragua or Honduras. Paper is, some of our paper is done in Costa Rica. We use recycled paper. I mean, we do a lot of things to try to, I think, just be responsible cigar builders as well.
So you talked about the struggles of being kind of like a startup, basically, which is like, I don't think a lot of people ever really discuss that, like not having all the money that you need to do something. So how did you grow your business in those early days? How did you get customers and get brand awareness without having a big budget to advertise everywhere and pay for all these reps to be around the country?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. We didn't have much of a budget, and so what we realized is we needed to develop some brands, and that might even include certain sizes that wouldn't cannibalize sales in people's humidors, and certainly brands or cigars that could maybe garner some attention in the industry. So one of the cigars we came out with, which was kind of crazy, was we called it the Nymphomaniac, which is a 7x33 Nympha-sized cigar. Nobody had a regular production Nympha in the U.S. There was a couple LEs, they did it, and they were more expensive. And so we came out with the Nymphomaniac, made it at a great price, sold a lot of them. And that kind of separated us in a way where at least people would say, yeah, I've never seen that. Tell me about your company a little bit. But back then it was difficult. I mean, we didn't have any sales guys, and we had a handful of brokers around the country. And, when you're dealing with brokers, I mean, they're great. They're great for the industry. But when you're a new brand and you're dealing with a retailer, I mean, are you the first brand they're going to talk about or the last brand they're going to talk about? And when you're new, it's usually the last one. And if you're the last one, retailers generally have spent all their money, or they get to that threshold of comfort level where they go, all right, I've already put orders in with all these other companies. So it was very difficult. And, so we did travel, myself, a previous partner I had, Joel, he traveled, Casey traveled. And, a lot of the conversations early on, we'd walk into a retail store and they'd say, okay, what company are you from? We'd say Crux. And they'd look at you and go, who? So, Crux, And of course, we'd say, wait, you've never heard of us? And they go, well, no. Well, nobody had, right? So you really have to tell your story. You have to, point out how you're different as a company, whether it's how you manufacture or the brands or the sizes that you have. You really got to, find a point of differentiation but we were having some success, and we opened a lot of retail accounts early on, which then, we ran into our next struggle as an undercapitalized company. We opened up too many retailers, and then a month later, they, guess what? They put reorders in. What? Wait, you want to order again? And we didn't have any products, so we ran through a very difficult time back then of just not having inventory, and you can't sell from an empty wagon. You're not going to survive with nothing in the wagon. So, that's been a huge commitment for us. Not only, changing our branding to, be definitely more current and timeless, but we also want to make sure that we have inventory. So because it's a lot of work. You go in a retail store and they give you that shot and they say, yeah, we're going to put you right here, and then you can't keep the cigars on the shelf. Well, retailers don't like that, of course. Consumers don't like that, and it's just a terrible way to try to build a company. And so, so we've really committed to ramping up our inventory in the factory. I mean, our production numbers go up every month. We have a lot of inventory in Florida. We've been working very hard on just continually building that inventory so we don't run out of those products. And at this point, we're going to continue to grow the company and open new accounts based on the numbers that come in, but we're not going to make that mistake again. We're not going to run out of inventory if we can help it.
So it's all about scalability and not scaling past what you can actually handle.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So, but very painful. It costs a lot of money. There's been several years my wife looks at me at the end of the year and she looks at our tax return and she goes, "You're going to do this. You're going to keep doing this, huh?" And I said, I go, "If you don't mind," but I got a great wife, she says, I believe in you. I believe in Casey. I believe in Tony. I believe in Sam. I mean, all the people on our team, she believes in us and what we're accomplishing. Here we are, another year, but we've had some great momentum, definitely.
I guess I want to ask, what are you looking for? Are you looking, because I know some companies, they start up a business because they think they're going to make lots of money. Were you in it for the money? Were you in it for the passion? Like, what was your motivation to start the company, and what's been your motivation to keep it going?
I think the motivation is certainly like I think anybody, whether you're a manufacturer in this business, you're a retailer in this business, you're any part of the business other than if you're a consumer, you obviously love the cigars, but the rest of us, some of us make money and a lot of us don't, right? And so I think there's a lot of people in the industry at all levels, whether it's media, manufacturing, retail, doesn't matter, anywhere in that supply chain. We do it because we love it. We do it because what cigars mean. We do it because cigars connect you and I. I mean, you and I have never even met, and here we are connected, right? And I mean, we met in 2015 in New Orleans very quickly, but now you and I are connected, right? Next time I see you, I mean, we're going to have that connection, and that's the great thing that cigars do, and I love that part of it. As far as making money, I mean, I think anybody that starts a business has, definitely has the goal of making money and providing for their family. But I love seeing our company grow. I love the ability to hire 3 more people and then 6 more people and continue to grow that because everybody's getting paid and everybody's in the business. We're all connected, and it just feels like. And I was explaining to my wife before, because starting off as a retailer, going to a retail store, if you own it or you're a consumer or even work there, it's like going to your other family, right? You have a whole nother family that our lives are enriched with the people that we hang out with, this same common goal, this cigar that, like I said before, that connects us all. And so I love that part of going into a retail store and making those connections with people. And now, as a manufacturer, you get to fly around to stores all around the country and make those connections in different stores. And so early on, and I think all sales guys can attest to this. It's starting that relationship. It's opening that account. But then every time you pass through and you're having success and you're connected not only to the retailer but those consumers in those brick and mortar retail stores, I mean, it's just there's no better job. I mean, you just go around and sell cigars to your friends all day. That's what we do. We sell cigars to our friends all day, and there's just nothing better.
So what's the best-selling Crux cigar?
Our number one seller is Crux Epicure. It's Ecuador, Connecticut cigar. I mean, most of them are trending very well. I wouldn't say surprising one, but one of the most recent ones we launched was the Crux Bull and Bear. We originally launched it back in 2014, but because of our packaging redesign and logo change and all that kind of stuff, our new packaging was very expensive, and so we couldn't do everything in our portfolio at once. So we chose which one first and which one second and third. And so when Bull and Bear came out, it was always kind of a mid performer for us. Now we have upgraded everything, the quality of the tobacco. We've picked all the tobacco that goes in our cigars for this entire production year, for example. We never did that before. We have the top rollers rolling these cigars. And so the Bull and Bear hit, and that's flying. I mean, it's flying. And that's the one where we have like a 6x60 Gorda with that marble head finish, that nice round head to it. And but that Epicure and then Bull and Bear definitely are our top sellers.
And what made you want to redesign Crux? Because I know last year you kind of revealed a new look for the brand. And I like it because, like you said, it's much more modern and sleek than what was there before. And what was there before was nice because it was different from anything in the market at that point. So you could look at a Crux design and say, that's Crux. You wouldn't get it confused with anybody else.
That's right. Well, I mean, like anything, I think we started off with a design that I personally really, really liked. It really got us to where we are today, our initial designs. It was different, it was unique, kind of had an edge to it. But like anything, we want to build more cigars. We want to open up more retail accounts. We want to build more connections. And so, we at year 5, I figured it was a really good time to see if everything that we were doing was right or wrong. And there's no pride there. It's just, we just want to build a better product if we can build a better product. And so we looked at everything in our company, our sizes to the tobacco selections and how we were doing things, our entire process. And then we looked at our branding. And so we had hired a company to basically test our branding. We had basically a focus group that, cigar smokers, non-cigar smokers, and we were just looking for some information on how our branding was doing in the market. And what we quickly realized is most people couldn't read it. I mean, they didn't know what that word said on our cigar band. And then, of course, we turned it on, this way, so you really couldn't see it when it was sitting on a retail shelf. And so if you look at most companies nowadays, luxury brands, everything else, everybody simplified their branding. People are inundated with between social media and emails and television, everything else. And, if it's a complicated brand in any way, we just don't remember it, right? It gets spit out. So we really wanted to make something like you had mentioned, something a little more modern, current, relevant, but more importantly, we wanted something that's timeless, something that people could read, people could remember for decades to come.
Now, how has the coronavirus situation kind of impacted Crux and what you all were planning for 2020? Have you had to adjust or pivot any based on what's going on and based on what you think might play out for the rest of the year?
Yeah, it definitely has. I mean, we as I mentioned before, we've had some tremendous momentum, and I mean, it was crazy for us. I mean, we were opening new accounts every day, the right accounts. I mean, we handpick our accounts, we approach them, we talk about the Crux retail partnership relationship that we want to establish, and I think a lot of retailers understand that we do view them as partners, and we respect them, and So knowing that we had the momentum, and then next thing you know, like all manufacturers and pretty much all industries, sales guys can't travel. They can't, visit retail stores. They can make the phone calls, but the retailers, of course, are preserving cash. They're basically selling off inventory just to create some cash flow and pay the bills. But they're certainly, and we also, we're not a discounter in any way. So, there are probably a handful of retailers out there that are always looking for opportunities to make opportunistic buys, but that's not what we're about. So it's really changed how we sell right now. We're obviously trying to incorporate some more technology, whether it's virtual sales presentations. We're looking at expanding our territories for our current sales reps, so they can reach out. And once again, we had plans of probably hiring another 3 salespeople this year, and that could still happen, but everything has just gotten paused for now. I mean, fortunately, we have a lot of inventory, because we worked hard building up that inventory, and we're still, as far as the production side and the supply chain side goes, that hasn't changed. It's just the only thing that's really changed for us right now is who we can reach, and so we have to come up with solutions on how to connect with people now in a digital world until these stay-at-home restrictions are lifted, and I think that time's coming soon.
And do you think when the stay-at-home orders do start to get lifted and people can start going back to, I guess, the new normal, as whatever that will be, do you see digital still playing a big role in the cigar industry? Because from my perspective, it seems to be growing a little bit more important now that people see we could easily be in caught with our pants down in a situation like this where we need that digital connection.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think the digital. I think there's a lot of companies are going to incorporate a lot more digital or technology into their businesses, and even at the retail level, many retailers are being forced to do it. Right? It's all stuff they know they should have done, for the last 5 to 10 years. It's now stuff they have to do to survive. For us, what we want to make sure is that we're just offering a great experience, a great selling experience. And I think for now, if we, it's the communication, if we can communicate and communicate in a different way, that's kind of interesting. Because at some point, last thing people are going to want to do in a very short period of time is they don't want to jump on another Zoom call, right? I mean, they're tired of it. They want human connection. We all need human connection. And so it's really important that our reps get out there. So we'll incorporate some of that digital elements into our selling style moving forward. But, we're still going to be looking at hiring people, and that's my goal, is to hire more people to keep establishing human connections. And even if you can't shake their hand and, maybe you can bump elbows or stand 6 feet apart, but it's still a much more human connection when you're face to face.
Now, as a brand owner, and you see the industry, you see the, I think as they've been called this year, like the big 4 or big 5 in the industry, and then everybody else. I mean, do you feel like you get enough attention from like the media and from the consumers, or are you like fighting to get attention, the same amount of attention?
As the big 4 or 5?
As a big 4 or 5, or even just like a medium-sized kind of manufacturer?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're really fighting. I mean, fighting for attention. I mean, I think the big 4 or 5. I mean, obviously they've made some changes, and some of that collectively. I think I don't know if that really, to the end consumer level, I don't know how much people really understand everything that's happened in our industry. I don't know how much some of the decisions the big 4 or 5 are making are influencing retailers' buying habits or patterns, and then pushing that to their retailers. I mean, all I can say about for us is, we're just happy being in the place that we're at, and we're not, we do, yes, watch what other manufacturers are doing. I mean, they are competitors, and we're growing. And so once again, we still have I think a lot of advantages because we're nimble, where we can make changes very quickly. We can do things, and we have we're hopeful. We have an exciting year ahead of us. Maybe some new brands, some new things to talk about, some new ways of doing business. But but we're all in this together. More than ever, all manufacturers need to be unified here. And so I hope we all come together and figure out what's best for premium cigars. And I think most small to mid manufacturers have the same mindset of where we need to continue to grow in our industry and where we need to continue to get better. And the big manufacturers have influence, right? They have legislative influence. They've worked hard in most of them, not all of them, but they've worked hard in protecting our freedom and our right to enjoy these cigars. So what we're looking at doing is just say, if anybody needs help, whether it's at a legislative level or financially, whatever it is, I mean, we're in this for the long haul, and I've always said this, we're not a company that's just trying to, take it every 6 months. I mean, it kind of feels like that for most businesses now, because what you plan for next week might be totally different than what actually happens,
right,
because of coronavirus. But that'll eventually go away, and so we can start looking, out a little further distance. And we try to build our company by decade, not by 3-year marketing plans. And but we can make those adjustments throughout those years to just give us the best chance of success and delivering a great product and building these connections and relationships with retailers and end consumers.
Now, for somebody who's not tried a Crux cigar yet, and I know that this question might be dependent on their palate, but where would you kind of help guide them, and what would you suggest that they kind of take a look at trying?
Yeah, so each of our cigars, we have a number of sizes in each of those lines. I think, and as far as strength or body, from light to medium all the way to full. And so right now, what's available to market is really it's Crux Epicure, Crux Epicure Maduro. We have our Bull and Bear, our Guild, and then from time to time our Limitada. I think if people like medium-bodied cigars, Epicure all day long. And even though it's a Connecticut wrapped cigar, it is not a mild Connecticut. For people that smoke cigars that are more puffers, right? They just take it in and puff it back out. It's a little smoother, a little creamier, a little milder. But for those that want a little more intensity and they actually retrohale, they're going to find that it's got some, it's got some flavor. I mean, and a little bit of strength. And so Epicure and Epicure Maduro is always the best place to start in our portfolio.
What are I know you just talked about your 10-year plan. So where do you see Crux in another decade from now?
Well, I mean, hopefully I'm still in the business. I plan to be. I have kids. I'm not sure they're going to be involved, but we're a family-run company. Vice president is Casey Haugen. Tony Haugen joined our team a couple of months ago. He's fantastic. So it's working with that family. Sam Ventura, in a very short period of time, he's family. I mean, he may not have the Haugen last name, although I think he should probably change it if he really wants to be accepted. But no, I mean, we're in 10 years. I see us having just a ton of fun, right? It's painful growing a company, but if we continue to apply the principles and we stay goal orientated and producing great cigars and sticking with our plan, I do see us as outside the U.S. as well. I don't want to call it an international company, but we want to make connections all over the world where we can, and we get people buying our cigars from all over the world right now, and that's what's cool. I mean, you see these connections from Sweden or Australia or New Zealand. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's just we're all connected because of these things, and that's the beauty of it. So, we're focused on building, yes, our brand, but more importantly, enriching our lives and building our connections. And there's companies that have done a great job of that. They really understand the connections, and it doesn't matter what they do. And the bigger you get, you have kind of advantage of being able to weather problems.
Mm-hmm.
You certainly can. Let's say you have a problem in production or any problems. You typically weather those storms because there's enough equity in the brand. We're still such a young company. That's why we really have to take our time. So, every step of the way, we want to make sure that we just want to make sure that we're doing it the right way, because a mistake for us is a huge problem, right? There's just not a lot of forgiveness when you're a small company like this, and so anyway, I think we'll continue to grow and connect, and we're gonna it's all about having fun, because once the fun's out of it, and I've said this from day one, if there's no fun in what we're doing, I'll do something else, right? I mean, these guys will do something else. But so far, even with all the problems and the legislative issues that this industry faces, I think everybody would agree, yourself included, tell me if I'm wrong, but this is a fun business, and that's why we do it.
Yeah, I always say that people, like, you look at the cigar industry from the outside and you kind of think it's all smoking jackets and tuxedos and very stiff and stuffy, and then you get into it and it's full of different personalities, full of fun, full of people wanting to have a good time and laugh. And it's too bad that we can't always communicate that to non-cigar smokers or to people who are making the legislative laws, so that they can see what it is, and they can see that it's a handcrafted product, and it's not like a cigarette, it's not like a vaping product. It's a completely different experience.
Totally. That's right.
And even on the media side, I mean, speaking to different companies, I mean, when you I always have fun speaking to a cigar person, because they want to tell their story and share that story and the heritage, and you just don't get that from a vapor person or a cigarette person. It's just like, tell us the history of this brand. Well, we started in the 18 something something, and now we're manufactured by this person. That's that.
Right.
So what have you learned about yourself since starting Crux?
Well, I've learned that I need to go to a chiropractor a lot more than I used to. Sleeping in different beds with different pillows, but I'll tell you what, since staying at home, it's been great. Sleep in my own bed every night, but I miss the people. But what I've realized is that I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate to work with my family. Very, very fortunate to spend time with these different retailers and make these connections with end consumers. I mean, I've just learned that my life is more blessed than ever, even though there's been several years of losing money at this. This, however, will not be one of those years. Fingers crossed. Damn coronavirus. We'll see. But I think it's made me kind of realize that, and you talked about this before, some companies do it for the profits or money. It made me realize that making money that's an easy thing to do, but if you can make money and it's something you love doing, then continue to go after it. So that's what we're doing, and we just want to pay the bills. I mean, that's it. It's just go out there and have fun, and I think we're doing that. We're having a good time.
So as we near the end of our time together, how can people stay in touch with Crux? What social media stuff should they be looking for, like accounts to follow? Where can they find out more information about the brand?
Our brand's on cruxcigars.com. We're on all the social media. We're going to have a series of videos embedded in our website at some point. I think there's one up there now, which we kind of have a retailer highlight. We're going to be doing that on a periodic basis, where we actually have a production crew going into brick and mortar retail stores and talking about their story and their connection with their end consumers. And so websites for the first time ever is probably more interesting to look at than it ever has been. We didn't really change it too much, but now we are. But that's the easiest way to follow us, or hell, send me an email. jeff@cruxcigars.com. I mean, I don't care who you are. I'll respond to it, you know.
I'm happy to know that Crux is in one of my local tobacconists, which is Havana Fields. So
Oh, yeah.
I have a local source for Crux. So that's always nice.
Yeah, that's great. Well, do you have some Crux cigars? Did Casey load you up, or?
Yeah, because remember I met you and Case just a couple months ago at TPE right before coronavirus.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Right before it clamped down on everything. So.
But did we take care of you?
Yeah.
Okay. You need more?
I mean, look, I could always use more cigars. I'm never gonna say no. So,
right.
So I can always use more. So
I'll send Casey a note. Which ones do you like? What's your favorite out of our line so far?
Look, I don't have I will say this. I don't have one that I don't like.
Okay, that's good. Because if you said I didn't have a favorite, I'd say, wait, you don't like any of our cigars?
You're like, wait a minute, hold on. This interview is over.
That's good. Maybe I'll send you a couple. Email me your address too. I'll send you a couple blends that I'm working on in the factory. Get your opinion on them. How's that?
Great. Sounds good.
That'd be great.
Well, like I said, I want to thank you for taking an hour out of your time to speak to me, and I know we need to get together and do a story for Tobacco Business Magazine and Cigars and Leisure. So you and I will definitely have you and I and Casey and the team will definitely have some conversations offline about that. But I've enjoyed learning a little bit more about the Crux story and getting your business philosophy today.
Well, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. And
yeah, it was fun.
Look forward to, hopefully we see you this summer at the PCA show. You think they're going to have it? What have you heard?
I think I saw a lot of media people yesterday talking about the Venetians' COVID-19 response plan, and they were not fond of it. They didn't think it will be very conducive to a trade show experience. Yeah. So I'm going to stay out of that fight.
But I think they should have.
I know they're in a tough position because when you do a trade show, I mean, it's just you've already put in a lot of money by this time, and so just saying we're not going to do it is a big decision because you're just not going to get some of your money back. So
yeah, I wonder if we're going to be in queue. You know, but there's a lot of trade shows that have not been taking place, right? Because you know that all gets pushed back. You know, so I hope maybe the PCA comes up with a like a virtual trade show. You know,
I feel like whatever they're going to do, I mean, in a couple of days it's going to be May, and they kind of need to say what the plan is and what's going on because, I mean, people haven't been able to even book, hotel rooms. So how do you get ready and manufacturers to ship your booth there and to get your team ready? I mean, it's just a lot of thought that goes into it. So logistically, it seems hard to do, but I never count people out. So let's see what the next few weeks kind of unravels, but we'll see.
Good. Well, I appreciate your time, man. I hope we can see each other one of these days in the near future.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person, maybe with a little bit of social distancing, but.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's all right. I'm not overly worried about it.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to our next encounter, and thank you again for speaking to me and sharing your story with our audience.
Good to see you again. Appreciate it. All right.
Good.
All right. Be well.
You too.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.